Hi, good day, everybody. Welcome back to our Working Together series live from the NETIV Zoom room with Rod Bryant, and we're just waiting on Rabbi Ingber to show up. In the meantime, let's just bop in and see what's going on with Rod and NETIV. Rod, how are you? You're live on the Noahide World Center YouTube, Facebook page. What's going on with NETIV lately?
Oh, man, and things are going well with NETIV. We've got a couple of new families that have just joined us recently for the live classes. I just want to encourage you, if you're seeing this for the first time and you don't attend the regular live class, man, please consider joining us. You're going to have a great time of study and learning. Listen, all the questions that you might address and might want to know answers to, I don't know all the answers, but what I'm saying is we live in a community. We've been studying like this for, what are we going, 10 years now, Sandy, I think 10 or 11 years, roughly. Any question that you would have, we've already begun to find out and know the answer and can share it with you. There's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of different rabbis that are teaching. Some of them know quite a bit and others don't know enough. I was really heartened today when I found out that over Shabbos in the Jewish community.
Yeah, some of them are so specialized, right?
Oh, no, I know. It's exactly it. They're specialized. And so in the Jewish community here, Rabbi Wolbe said they were having a discussion over Shabbos about the laws for the B'nai Noach and how they apply. And that was very heartening that these Jewish men are having discussions along with rabbis about the laws for the non-Jew and how to help those who are in search of Torah.
Very necessary, sure.
Very, very exciting.
Excellent. So good to hear.
Yeah, and we've got, like I said, it's a fantastic time right now for our community. Our classes are going well. Of course, we're going to have a break, probably with Rabbi Avner until I believe it's April the 4th or 5th. He's going to be taken off because of Pesach and Purim and Pesach. And then we have Rabbi Weissman, who he's not canceling any classes yet, right, Sandy? Maybe next Tuesday, but I don't know.
Yes, it's kind of on a week-to-week basis, maybe right. How he's feeling and then how the holidays fall.
Right. So make sure
when there's
you stay
holidays,
up to
we
date.
all try to respect their schedules, sure.
Right. The important thing is to stay up to date with what's going on in the community.
And why it's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we had a discussion this morning before class with individuals who were Noahide, who had children or young, kids that they want to have some type of relationship with other Noahide children and young people, especially for the potential of, future possible marriage. And so it's important that we begin to network and come up with some responsibility, some leadership to do it. So anybody feeling like the urge to do it, I would encourage you to jump in.
I've had a couple encouragements from Jerusalem to work on a child curriculum for just for schooling purposes, maybe homeschooling of sorts. But I've even talked about maybe one lady's willing to maybe be involved and volunteer. But I'm pondering the notion of maybe doing some animations and setting them all up. And there's a lot to it. But one rabbi in Jerusalem put me in touch with a lady who is strong on school ethics and. Right. And I wanted to, input that as well. And I haven't made that connection yet. I've tried, but just hasn't come together yet. But who knows? I mean, right. I think encouraging it is definitely the starting point, especially for young people. You don't want them to grow up isolated in a bubble and then wake up one day and realize the world's a much bigger place. And then they just get sucked into it real quick. We don't want that to happen.
Absolutely. And also I'll throw in the Noahide mitzvah course that we have put together through YPS should be on tour anytime in the near future. They have agreed to post up all 60 lessons. So teaching beautiful. About Noahide laws, teaching what the sages of blessed memory say about the B'nai Noach. So it's a great opportunity to not only educate the non-Jew, but the Jews that are watching and being educated. Rabbi Ingber just entered the room. So Dan, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. Well, this is why we're here now. Last week was a great message. He went through some wonderful points out of Jonah chapter 2, and then started to break into Jonah chapter 3. I know this is our third part dealing with the book of Jonah. I'm not sure what the rabbi has in store. Rabbi Ingber, are you there? We're going to turn the class over to you.
I am here. I'm getting a
Oh, so good to be with you, sir. And
it's hearing me okay?
yeah, I'm capturing your voice all right.
Good. I have some kind of delay. It's kind of weird. I'm speaking and then I'm a second behind myself. Okay, so all right, a little confusing. All right, good to see you all. We did start Jonah. We've done a couple of sessions where we are up to the 4th chapter, actually. And so today we're gonna finish the book of Jonah, and next week we'll talk about it more. But I want to talk about the book of Jonah, and then at the end, something that's very related to both this time, what's happening now, and to the holiday that's coming up, which is the holiday of Purim. I'll explain a little bit about that, and we'll talk a little bit about one of the very strange commandments of Purim in light of the story of Jonah, and then we'll hopefully have some discussion about it. Okay, so we're up to the 4th chapter. So in the 4th chapter, we said that after God sends Jonah, I'll call him Jonah again, the Hebrew term, Jonah to Nineveh, he comes back and Jonah says, okay, 40 days, Nineveh will be destroyed. Nineveh hears the rebuke and they repent. As I said before, repent's a bad word. The word is return. Tshuva, returning to what we are, to our essence, which has a place that we want to be connected to God. And so they return, they do tshuva, and God God doesn't destroy them. Jonah gets very upset. And we said last time in the verse chapter 4, Vayira Yonah Ra Gadol, it was very bad for him. And he Vayicharlo, he got upset. He got sick, actually. He was so upset he got sick. And it's very weird. We said last time, how do you get upset? You just got people to change. That's very good. We have a few explanations. One that we ended with last time, was that Jonah knew they really didn't fully change. They still had idolatrous beliefs. They still looked at the world as if there is, instead of saying there's a creator, they still attributed power to other forces in the world. They really had not changed in their essence. They did externally, they returned all stolen items, which is great. But Jonah said they didn't really change fully. It's God, you forgave them. Now, why did that bother Jonah so much? We said it bothered him so much because he knew prophetically that these people, the Assyrians, were going to destroy his people. They were going to exile the 10 tribes of Israel. And so he's like, well, these people are not really good. Why are you keeping them around? And this is what got Jonah so upset, that he felt that that God was compassionate to them, even though their tshuva, their returning was not sincere and was not complete. And he saw prophetically, in terms of historically, that this was going to be bad for the Jewish people because they were going to be the ones to destroy the 10 tribes. And I said, this is what we had up last week, and this is a very, very, very important lesson. We talked about last time how you see things that are happening, but God's got a divine plan. And things are being moved in a certain direction. What you want to do is you want to find out, what's my role in that divine plan? The person who wants to control it is in a lot of trouble because you can't control it. You can do your part. And that's why sometimes you can try something because your logic dictates this is the right thing to do, but sometimes you have to pull back and say, well, if God doesn't want it to happen, it's not working, maybe I shouldn't push it. Because there is the interaction that is all the time. We are put in this world, we must do. God gave us commandments, we must do. But he's got a grand plan of where he wants things to play out. And it's a dichotomy in a human being, because if I tell you, listen, you're made in the image of God. You could do. So you know what happens? I could do. It's me. And then the person pushes things and believes that they're in complete control. On the other hand, someone who says, well, God's got a grand plan, I'm just going to sit back and do nothing. That person's also off the deep end. This is the balance you need in life. You need to make your effort and still realize that that's all God does expect from you. He wants you, he gives you certain strengths, and within those strengths and within the society you're born in, the time you're born in, that's the effort you make. What's going to be the conclusion? That's probably likely out of your hands. But that's why the judgment is on what are you attempting to do? What are you trying to do? What do you want to do? I want to talk about apotropos. I mean, something happens, it can't work out. But you're trying. This is what you're about. So Jonah has this dynamic now where he's like, I just saved these people. They don't really deserve to be saved, and they're going to be the ones who, in God's grand plan, is going to exile 10 tribes. He's very upset about it. And we got to last week. He says, he wants to the point of death. Now God says to him in verse 4, chapter 4. Now, this is a very strange terminology. This is what we're up to now. The word is, I don't know how the English translates it, but it says, are you so angry? Really? The wording is very strange because hatev means good. Is it good that you're angry? So the simple explanation is God saying, like, why are you so angry about? What is it that you think that you're upset about? But there's another way to understand, which is a rebuke. Because if you feel good when somebody else has something bad, or feel bad when someone else has something good, that's a problem. And God is telling him, okay, you might have good reasons why you feel this way. You might have rationales why you feel that this is justified. But God says it's not a good trait for a person when I give good to somebody to feel bad about it. Okay? This we'll have to explain a little bit more as we're going to go, because there is a concept of God giving reward to righteous people and punishment to evil people. And if you look at the prophets, they're very upset. There was a book, Why Bad Things Happen to Good People. But there wasn't a book of why good things happen to bad people. How come there's no book like that? That is actually the bigger question. Because if I say, why do bad things happen to good people? I don't know how good is he. See, on the outside he's good. But if somebody is really bad and why good things happen, that should bother you too. Because the way of God is pure and just, and bad should not be rewarded. So why, and that's what the prophets scream. They say, why are bad people prospering? That's not a good thing. So Jonah seems to have a point that Nineveh is something wrong with them. And we'll see further. We'll see as we bring this home, what was Jonah's mistake and what God was telling him. So now, next verse 5. So Jonah goes out of the city. Now he's told them they're going to be destroyed, and they repent and they are saved, and God does not destroy them. So Jonah goes out of the city. Why does he go out of the city for? Well, different explanations. One is because he knew they weren't so righteous. He still didn't want to hang around with these people. Even though they were better than they were, he knew they're not the greatest people in the world. He also had this idea. He said, I'm going to go out of the city and watch what happens. Because Jonah thought, even though they weren't going to be destroyed, some shakeup was still going to happen. Because Jonah knew that their repentance was not full. He thought something's going to happen, a minor thing, but something. He wanted to see what was going to happen. He goes out of the city, and he builds himself a sukkah, a canopy. Okay, that's in verse 5. Now, you got to get the picture here to understand this next part. I don't know if you ever got caught in like Mid-East sun, Texas sun. You got in a really hot place that you got stuck in, and the sun was beating down on you. I don't know if that happened to you. It happened to me once. This was years ago. I was 17, 18. I was in the Sinai desert. So it's already very romantic, biblical. I'm in the Sinai desert, and I went snorkeling. And I put my clothes in the little cove that I was staying in. I went snorkeling, and I came out in the wrong cove. And all of a sudden I come out, I have no shoes, I have no shirt, I have no water, and I'm stuck in the Sinai desert. It was like the greatest imagery in my mind. I was like, wow, I can't last 40 years. I can't last 4 minutes in this. And I started freaking out because like the sun was beating on me, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I really got afraid because I an hour like that, I would have been French toast. I would have been finished. Thank God I found my stuff and I was able to put a hat on, I put a shirt on, drink some water, and get back to where I was. But if you're in the blazing sun, that's dangerous. Okay. So Jonah is out of the city. He makes himself a canopy and he sits there. And now in verse 6, God now makes this kikayon tree, a certain type of tree with beautiful leaves. The Talmud describes all its leaves and how beautiful it was, and it grows overnight over Jonah. Okay, now Jonah's totally protected because before he was only partially protected. He had a little canopy, but the sun kept hitting him. He had to hide it. Now he's totally in the shade. And Jonah, it says, has tremendous joy. He sees this beautiful shade that's above him now, and he feels protected. He feels secure, and he feels really happy. So as Jonah's had a very rough life, ups and downs, in verse 7, next morning, before dawn, God sends a certain type of worm, and it kills the tree. And now, in the morning, Jonah wakes up, and the sun's beating down on him. And then God brings a ruach kadim charshit. That's like a desert wind. In Israel, they have something called a chamsin. When the wind comes into the desert, it's really hot. So this heat wind comes in. The sun's beating down on him now, and he faints. He literally faints. So it says, Vayit Aleph. He faints. And he says to God, I don't know if he said it, as he's fainting, before he's fainting, in his fainting state, he says, I'm done. Just let me out of here.
Delirious.
He asked for death, essentially. And now God says to him, gives him the rebuke we need to understand. Says to him, God says, are you really that upset over this? You lost the tree? You lost this? Are you that upset about it? And he says, yeah, I'm so done. I'm upset to death. I'm finished. So now God gives him the rebuke in verse 10. He says to him, you're so upset that you lost this tree that you did not work on at all. When you work on something, you like it. Very, very important. If anything that comes easy come, easy go. Things that you work on, you invest yourself in. I've mentioned this to you before. That's what the problem in the Western world is, understanding love. They misunderstand the whole idea of love. The idea of love, the word for love in Hebrew is ahava. Ahava is from the root ha, which means to give. So, like, there was a book by a psychologist. It was a decent book. He had some good points, but some fundamental mistakes. It was called "Getting the Love You Want." So, when I heard the title, I knew the book was flawed, because that wasn't the name of the title. The name of the title should be "Giving the Love You Should." Let me explain to you why. Because let's imagine now with a child first, maybe easier than with the spouse, but it's the same principle. I have a child. I invest in this child. I work with this child. So what I'm doing is I am planting myself in this person. Every human being naturally loves themselves. That's why God created it, so that we have a sense of oneness. There's a story about a guy, he was on death row. He tried to kill himself many times in the ancient days. And what happened was, then they were bringing him out to kill him, and a stone from the wall, from the roof, was about to fall, and he jumped out of the way. It's an instinct to preserve ourselves. we feel close to ourselves. When I invest myself in someone else, I become them and they become me. So the child that you give to, you will see that you have this closeness to. A story that happened in Europe. I remember the story. It was during World War II, and this was a family, a mother, father, and a child, and the parents were the father was separated with the child, the mother was separated. And after the war, when they were reunited, there was a certain bond that happened between the father and the son that the mother couldn't really replace because she didn't have all those years that she invested during the challenges that they had. The word in Hebrew for love is ahava, which means I give. As I'm giving to you, I am you, I naturally feel connected to you. And that's why it's a mistake. Everyone thinks, the love is, I got to get out of you. Well, yes, if it's not reciprocal, it's going to be a problem, of course. But what happens is in a normal relationship which doesn't have this problem is when I am now investing myself in the other person, it's a natural response to do the same. If that person is not, then it needs counseling, needs intervention. But the normal response should be it's reciprocal. And then I am invested in the person. I feel that love because I am that person. If I'm not investing in them, I just know, what can I get out of this relationship? I have a problem. So Jonah, you feel bad. You didn't do anything for this tree. When a person works on a project, they feel something because they invest in it. That's why in Hebrew, the word for money in the Talmud is called damim. Damim means blood, because I'm working, I'm investing myself. That's why a person goes and does a job and you don't pay him on time. It's a problem, because what's happening is the person is going and investing themselves into their labor. So Jonah, you feel so bad about this tree you didn't work on? You didn't work on it, you didn't grow it. It was here by day and gone one night and one day it was gone. Which means that there was no time to feel the investment. You feel so upset about it. God says, and this is the conclusion of the book. God says, and if that's true, and I will not feel compassion and a loss on the city, the great city of Nineveh, that has in it more than 12 ribo. That's 120,000 people. 10,000 is more than 120 people that do not know from their right hand to the left hand, and animals, and many, many animals. And what does this mean at the end, that these people don't know their right from their left? Well, what is God saying to Jonah that, and these people don't know their right from their left hand, and therefore I shouldn't have compassion? What does that mean? Let's understand. Jonah was upset because they did not really repent fully. That's what he's upset about. They didn't really get it together. It's kind of, they faked it. They did a little bit. God says, but don't you see? There's a place they don't understand. It's not an intentional action. When God judges everyone, he judges them based on their situation. I don't know any person's situation. You don't either. So God says, there are many people, and that's why he says the animals too, because just like the animals don't know what's right and wrong, a lot of these people just don't know. Now, I want to answer a question though. Does that mean that it's okay to do the wrong thing because you don't know? Doesn't mean that. Doesn't mean that. It means a person, everyone's obligated to go and to find out. But the judgment on the person who is accidental is obviously going to be different than the person who's intentional, right? If a person knows they're doing the wrong thing and they still do it, that's a worse scenario than a person who doesn't really know. And that's the whole tie-in here. We have to understand this. So Jonah is upset. He feels like these people didn't really change fully, and still you save them. And in the global picture, they're going to cause bad things in the future. And God says to him, when God's judgment is not a person's judgment, Hashem is looking at every individual and every nation. And what's happening is that there are people who could do better, should do better. It wasn't that there was no judgment on Nineveh. Eventually they were judged. These people, as they got worse and as they did certain things, they were judged negatively. But the judgment is for the purpose of the good of the people finding a way that we can see and direct them towards the good. Hashem does not want to punish anyone. He wants a person to learn and change and grow and become wonderful and great. And therefore, Jonah, what are you pushing here? Why are you pushing this idea? Why are you pushing that? That is the backdrop of this. Now, I want to discuss this a little bit today. Jacob, I think your thing is flashing in and out. I don't know if that's giving a problem for anybody, but it's kind of like a little psychedelic right now. Okay. So, all right. Matrix has a glitch. Yeah, exactly. Jacob, maybe put the video off. They put the video. Yeah, it's better. It's better. You see you better now. So now let's understand this. There's a lot of things to talk about now. It's about judgment. First of all, I mentioned this to you many times. There is an idea that some religions have called grace. And they find that as a positive idea, that God just gives you a bye. It's not a good idea. Let me explain to you why it's such a negative connotation. I told you before, but let's understand. I have my 3-year-old child. I'm having them help me do the dishes. Okay, are they really helping at 3?
No, underfoot.
Right. You are doing this to make them be busy, keep them out of your way, make them feel good that they're doing something, but they're not really doing anything. Now the kid grows up and the kid is 10. Do you not want the kid to maybe be doing something that they're actually doing something? Of course you do. Your goal is that you were 3, you couldn't do it. Now you're 10, you can. And it's not because I need the dishes, because I want you to be a valuable person. Therefore, the idea that God would say to somebody, listen, you can't do anything anyway. You're a klutz. You're a disaster. Just pretend you're doing something because you can't really do it anyway. That's not good. That means the person is not a human being. So the judgment is not about giving a bye. That's not the goal. Compassion, and I think I shared with you before, the word in Hebrew, rachem, which means womb, or rechem. That's why the mother has this feeling to the child. Rachem, she has rachem, she has compassion. The word rechem is the same word in Hebrew. Also has the Hebrew word machar, tomorrow. Why? If I flip the letters around, I spell the word tomorrow. Why is it spell the word tomorrow? Because the parent, when it says this child is, I see what they are tomorrow. You don't see it now, I see it. That means the compassion is not no place. The compassion is there's good in this person. There's greatness in my child. I see it and I have compassion. I want to bring it out. If somebody is evil through and through, that's a whole different story. When we see the goodness in our child, we have compassion because we see the greatness in them. It's not being brought to fruition. So one of the things when God judges us, he is compassionate. He waits. He will bring some negative things, but not to destroy, but rather to wake us up to change. He will go and not punish us immediately. He will make it slow. He'll give us the ability to return. But the goal is not that you got to pass because you can't do it anyway. The goal is at the end, you're going to do it. So if I go and I have somebody who's messing up, and I have a choice now. I say to him, listen, I'm going to teach you a trade. Okay, great. And they mess up once. I say, okay, I got to dock your pay because you didn't show up, this and that. But I give them a loan. I go and I teach them something. I help them. What's my goal? My goal is not that they're going to stay a parasite. My goal is that 5 years down the road, they're going to say, wow, thank you for sticking with me, that now I'm doing this myself. Here's the money back you lent me. I earned this myself. That means I'm a person. So Nineveh, yes, like Rod said last week, they made some changes. And God said, great, okay, there's a path that you made some changes. And Jonah said, listen, this is not good. It has bad reflections, bad connotations. And God said, listen, Jonah, but you realize that this tree that you understood was benefiting you, that was protecting you, that had something good in this world, you valued. So you got to give that same value to Nineveh. Yes, they're not perfect. And my goal is not to go and to fool them saying you're perfect, but Hashem, God's dealing with them in a way that a person can end up getting compassion and then at the end earning it. Giving a person charity to their face is not the same thing as giving a loan or a job. It's a much lower level. In the levels of charity, there are 8 levels that are brought. The lowest level is I give somebody money to their face. And you know why that's the worst? Because first of all, I know who it is, so I'm haughty. But 2, they're embarrassed. But if I teach them how to do something, I give them a loan, what I'm doing, I do it in secret, which is a little bit not as good as the loan, because the loan they're really earning themselves. The person then feels like a human being. So that is the dynamic. Nineveh, like many, many, many nations, has their shortcomings. Everyone has their shortcomings. Every individual has shortcomings. And God is working with us to say, fix up your shortcomings. So you got to push. This is not easy. This is problematic. This is hard. And the goal is now to say, okay, I realize the problem. How do I fix that up and become the person that I can and I'm supposed to be? That's the thing we got to hear. We got to hear that. We got to hear that there's a certain power that you're given, a potential you're given, and your whole life is to bring out that potential. And this is the part you got to hear also. Every interaction that's happening, every situation is happening, is a tailor-made opportunity to bring out your potential. And that was what's happening here. Nineveh, yeah, they're not perfect. Hashem says, but yeah. How much could I blame them for not knowing? There's some blame for not knowing, but not like you think, Jonah. You say they should be wiped out. All right, but my judgment, God says, is very precise. My goal is that they should succeed. And therefore, how can I hold them accountable fully the way you want me to when a lot of it is a question of ignorance that they don't know? Now, this I want to take as a jump-off point now for what's happening. This past, weekend was hate weekend. Have you guys heard about that? You heard about that?
Briefly.
Amazing. I mean, it's like, they don't even polish it up anymore. Used to be they would make it like, oh no, this is something, something good, really. The Nazis, oh, we're moving you to a better place. Now they don't do that anymore. Now it's all right. Okay, it's called Hate Weekend, Hate Day. And so, like, first of all, it's very fascinating because I don't know if for many other groups that they would have called that, I think we would have had the CIA, the FBI, and every organization all over them. It seemed to be, I didn't see much of a response. All I saw was like, okay, Jews, be careful. It's hate week. And it's amazing because it's literally happening during the Purim time. That's what it was. Purim was hate day. It was Haman set a day where all the hate, we're going to kill every Jew in the world. That was the plan. And that's what Haman called. And literally right before Purim, they called hate. Now, I wanna maybe hopefully give some positive reinforcement and positive, hopefully, defense to some in the world. We talked about Nineveh. We just learned about Nineveh, and God said, even though they had problems, there was a judgment that was given to them with some consideration of their issues. Every single nation in the world has a special quality. Every single nation in the world has a quality to bring into the good. Okay? Every single nation. And it's important to know, that's why maybe it's important to know what nation a person's from. You know, even though today in the world there's a whole mixture of like, is that a bad thing? Is that a good thing? But it's not bad, because the person has a unique quality, and probably from their ancestors, they're bringing a certain quality that they have to bring back into using it for positive, into a positive way, and they have a unique quality. By the way, it's same with language. Every language is in a certain. I always just tell people, there's a statement in one of the Torah sources that says, I love this statement. It's in Aramaic, but I love the way it sounds. It says, Lishna kulmisa deliba. Love the way that sounds. What does it mean? It means Lishna, the tongue, is kulmisa, is the pen of the heart. The tongue is the pen of the heart, meaning that when I speak, I am expressing a whole worldview, what's in my heart. And if you look at every nation, you can see their qualities, right? Just think about their language. Think about the French. They're rolling, very, very smooth. Yeah, the French. Think about the Germans. That's the mindset. Every nation has a language. That's why there's the 70 languages. That's why every member of the Sanhedrin, the Great Court, need to know every single language. There's 70 nations. There's a Jewish nation. There's 70 members of the Sanhedrin. There was one that was on top, the leader of the Sanhedrin. There's 70 languages. There's Hebrew language. The Hebrew language, the holy language, is considered to be, I take white light and I put it through a prism, and it gives me the colors of the rainbow. 7 colors, which are 70, that is the white light expanding into all its parameters, which is why Moshe was commanded to translate the Torah into 70 languages. In Devarim, the book of Deuteronomy, God commands him to be'er heitev, to explain it well. It says to translate into every language, that every nation, everyone could have a connection through the pen of their heart, through their way of seeing the world. Every nation can bring in their good. And therefore, there's a bizarre, very difficult to understand commandment that we just dealt with, which is the commandment of Amalek, Mechias Amalek. Amalek was the nation that tried to kill the Jews. Haman was an Amaleki. And we are not commanded, we're commanded to get rid of this stuff. Now, how could that be? Can Amalek bring something in? Who is Amalek? What is this? What is this nation of Amalek? Amalek is the one reality that is not a question of I don't know. Amalek is I know and I don't care. When I hold a mirror up and I show a person they're doing something wrong, you know what they do? They put their heads down in shame because they know they're doing something wrong. When somebody looks me right back in the eye, says, I don't care. This is what I want. That's a very, very different situation than every individual or any nation having a shortcoming. That is in the root of the problem. Now, there are some tailor-made signs to know if someone's a Amalek. What's a tailor-made sign? One is what Hitler demonstrated, which is that he preferred to kill Jews than to save his own self. Right? Because that's what he did. When he had a choice to use the cattle cars or the trains to transport Jews to the crematorium or send arms to the front line, he chose to keep killing the Jews. it is a certain level that is so evil that a person looks and says, I don't care. God, you want this? I don't care. I don't care what you want. I want that. Amalek was the nation that originated that. They originated this concept. When did they do that? When the Jews came out of Egypt, the whole world shook. Everyone said, that's it. God has performed these miracles. Not a slave had never escaped Egypt before. No one. And now an entire nation, 600,000 people, that was the army age people, was about 3 million people have just left. And Pharaoh was not letting them go. It was miracles. Then they heard about the Red Sea splitting. And everyone said, oh my gosh, the world is forever going to be changed. So came along one nation and said, no, we're going to fight. We're going to fight against the Jews. That was a month. They attacked the Jews after the splitting the Red Sea. They attacked them and went to kill them. Now, didn't they know they were going to lose? Didn't they realize? I mean, they knew what happened. They knew the story. So the answer was, this was a suicide mission. It was like the Nazis literally using the cattle cars and the trains to kill Jews, to send them to crematoriums instead of saving their own selves. And the analogy is like this. The real analogy is like you have a hot bath. Imagine a really, really hot bath. And everyone's afraid to go in. So one guy says, I'm jumping in. He's going to get burnt, but he cools it off everybody else. That's what Amalek did. And that's why God said, it's not a question of, I have a flaw, I don't know, I like doing this, I have this problem, I have this tendency, I have this addiction, I have this stick in my head. No, there is a very, very small number of people like Hitler who literally will look you in the eye and you'll show them, I think, is murder bad? No, murder is fine. Most people understand murder is bad. I said, no, I have no problem with that. The Ubermensch, the Nazi statement was the strong, they took the Nietzsche philosophy and took it to the nth degree. The Ubermensch is strong. There's no reason, the famous saying that Hitler had in Mein Kampf, he says the Jews put two scars in the world. The scar of the body was the circumcision, and the scar of the mind was the conscience. Listen to the words. Hitler says, it is the problem the Jews had was gave the world a moral conscience. You can't just kill the baby because they're born deformed. How could you do that? Hitler says, I don't believe in any of that stuff. I believe the lion eats the lamb. The strong could kill the weak, and there's no weapon. That is the belief. The level of evil we cannot imagine it. It's literally we can't imagine it. I want to share with you, because when it says you got to take care of Amalek, but what does it mean? What happens if there's an amazing law. If the Amaleki, according to my mind, the Amaleki will accept the 7 laws of Noah, which means not to be a barbarian, not to be a murderer, not to be a blasphemer, not to be a thief, not to be a wild man eating live flesh from an animal, not to steal, not to keep illicit relations. If he accepts that, then there's no commandment about fighting and destroying these people. It's not about the people. It's not about a German. It's about a Nazi, about a person who says, my ideology is to fight God. That's what it is. It's an amazing thing, because what was there for? And I almost can't believe this. I've talked about it to you before, but it's really unbelievable. What was Amalek's philosophy? So the sages tell us there's something called gematria. Gematria means the numerical value. I take the numerical value of every letter. Aleph, A is 1, Bet is 2, and everyone has a numerical value, and every word will combine to a unique value. So it says you take the numerical value of the name Amalek, this nation, it equals the same numerical value as the word safek. Safek means doubt. Doubt. Now, why is doubt so bad? The answer is because what Amalek said was, you're saying God created the world? You're saying this? Maybe not. Who said? Maybe everything is random. There is no purpose in anything. It's all random. That's what their philosophy was. Ladies and gentlemen, this is frightening that in modern society, that has become the leading thought. I think I said it to you. I might have said it to another class, so forgive me if I've said it before, but it's only because people don't think of the ramifications of what they believe. They don't take it to the next step that they're able to function and be happy. It's like, what's the point in life? No point. Everything means nothing. It's all random. Okay, so what do you believe then? Nothing. What's the purpose of your life? And then you ask a scarier question. If this guy believes that everything's a random accident, why is he not going out and murdering and pillaging? And I guess the only reason is maybe because he'll get caught or maybe because he's afraid to. But in terms of the value, he doesn't believe there's any value because it's all random. There is no good, there is no God, there is no purpose, there is nothing makes sense. That was the philosophy of Amalek. And that's why it's amazing. If you take the word Amalek and you break the word up, it spells the word Amal, which means the work of, and the kuf is a monkey. The work of the monkey. You're not a divine image of God. You're a monkey. What's the difference, right? The monkey see, monkey do. So you're an advanced monkey. Okay, great. But you're a monkey. You don't have anything. There's no purpose. You're just a monkey. What is the monkey? The monkey's interested in getting his banana. That's what he wants. So that's what I'm interested in, getting my banana. So you have a fancier banana. Your banana's a Tesla. Okay, great. But I could step on every other weaker monkey than me to get my banana. This is what's going on. So I guess I'm happy that people don't really think of the ramifications of this philosophy that makes it that the world is random with nothing. Because if they did, they would probably be very bad people. So what happens is like this, is that Purim was the battle of the Nazis, of the hate day, or the hate year, or the hate era against the Torah, against God and his people. And they didn't win. And therefore we have to remember, this has got to be taken out of the world. This is not, this people whose their goal is evil. We talk about loving everyone, and that is true. But you have to remember, the verse says, Ohavei Hashem sin ura. The ones who love God actually hate evil. Yes, the person himself, I see good in them. I see good in them. You know, Abraham prayed for the people of Stone because even though they were the worst, there must have been something good. He thought something good. Maybe it's 10 good people. There's something good in them. Jonah had a problem now. Jonah said, okay, this is going to be bad. It's going to fit into the cosmic thing. They're going to fight the Jews. And they didn't really fix it. God said, but there's still good in them. And even the fact that they don't understand, they're not a Molech. They're not like evil for the purpose of evil. And therefore, I think it's important to know this. What I'm going to tell you now is really, really important. The Ramchal says, Rav Chaim Moshe Chaim Luzzatto says that people in life, there are some very, very few people who are thoroughly evil. Very few. Thoroughly evil. Most of the people you probably know, maybe not so good, maybe have it, but there's something good in them that you got to draw out. It's a mullah concept. That's why we don't know who it is and what. We don't know where, who. We don't know who. All we do is when they pop up and they show their heads and they call the hate day, I hope the fact that, there weren't big incidents across America, I hope that means that most people who maybe listen to this nonsense don't have that point of complete hate in them. And the people that do are very, very few and far between. And that is the thing that happens in Purim. I always ask people, I have a question that I ask people a lot of times. If you look at the Torah portion, when God gives the Torah, does anyone know the name of the Torah portion that God gives the Torah in? It's Parshas Yitro, Jethro. Jethro who came and he converted. And I always ask the question, I don't know, if I was doing it, I would say, wait a minute, let's call this the 10 Commandments. This is like, Jethro? It's like, what is the, I know it's not Jethro from Beverly Hillbillies, I understand that, but still, Jethro is the name of the Torah portion with the 10 Commandments appear. It's Jethro, it's Parshas Jethro. It's crazy. It's like unbelievable. Why is that? So this is an amazing answer. It's very true. The answer is because the Torah was able to be given only after Yitro removed the evil. He was an idolater. He was the leading philosopher of the idolaters. And when he said this is all nonsense, he removed evil from the world. When you remove evil from the world, goodness can come out. As long as you don't know what it is, you got a problem. And therefore, whatever, Amalek, whatever that evil in the world, we don't know who, what, hopefully we won't see more Nazis in this world and people like that. But every year we call out to God and say, remove the evil. He removes the evil step by step. The evil is not, what we're talking about is a shortcoming. The people of Nineveh had shortcomings. Every individual has shortcomings. Every nation has shortcomings. That doesn't mean that's not called evil. Evil is when a person could look at, when Hitler can say, you created a moral conscience that I can't just kill what I want to. No, I'm not embarrassed I kill. I'm not embarrassed I may. I'm not. That's a different level. That is a world, that's something that I it's amazing because I think America, you don't realize how much America has taken from the Torah in terms of its basic ideas of compassion, because this is not what the world was. I think I told you this also. It just the whole. I mentioned it before. The fact that in Athens, the intellect of the Western world, they would kill a baby who was born with some deformity, and that was considered to be the proper population control. And we see these phenomenons. People expressing these same ideas now. It's contrary to the Jewish idea of true compassion. And so we don't realize that so much of the Torah has seeped into society that most of us feel, even if we disagree with someone, is that other person evil? The biggest problem that's happening in American society right now is the inability to think. And so people, if you disagree with me, you're terrible, you're evil, this and that. And they call everyone a Nazi, which is just stupid. Because that's not what it is. What it is that have a different opinion and learn to talk, learn to think, and you can communicate. But I don't think most of the people who have divergent views, maybe even opposite views than you do, I don't think that most of them are Amalek. Most of them are people who have some kind of mistake. They don't know their left from their right. Literally. Tar, let's get the analogy here. I know my left from my right. It's like is that happening in the world today, Tar? Yeah, we don't know what's flying. People think so. Okay, okay, you got a problem. You got something wrong with your brain. I'm sorry. I feel bad for you. I feel bad that you've been brainwashed by everything. but it doesn't mean the person's evil. It means you may have a hard time getting through. The commandment of Purim is the battle of good and evil, which is not, and by the way, they tell you the same things. They tell you this all the time. You know, even the whole thing with Ukraine is the battle of good and evil. Let me just tell you something. For Zelensky to go compare it to the Nazis is insane. Because whether or not, and I'm not justifying the war at all, but it's a war that has reasons why the people are fighting the war. And if for example, one side would say, okay, we're not going to, we don't want to become NATO. We don't want to, so the war would stop. Hitler wasn't stopping when we'd say, we're not going to do what? His goal was to kill people. It wasn't a war of territory, a war of strategy, a war. It wasn't anything like that. It was goal to kill. So when we think in these terms of everyone else is a Nazi because we don't understand their opinion, it just makes us that kind of small-mindedness. The root of evil is really evil, and we don't even know how to take care of it anymore. We just got to call out. We had this week's Torah portion was to remember what these Amalekim did. Remember, they wanted to fight goodness. When we remember that, God says, okay, I'm going to now move it into the world to remove evil in the world. Right now, you can't go out and fight Amalekim. You don't know who anybody is. But you remember, there were people that were so evil. And God, we don't want that. And God says, you remembered it. You made it a point. You care about it. Okay, I'm going to move it. I'm going to remove these individual evil people from the world. And then every nation with its unique language, unique flavor, even Nineveh, everyone can now pull in whatever goodness they have and bring it to where it has to be, to unite it and to take that goodness from their unique way of seeing the world, their unique language, their unique view, and bring it into the system and elevate the entire world. Okay, that is my thought, and we are going to open it up to questions, ideas.